the Media Liaison Officer in the Department of Basic Education. I will be assisting to facilitate this media briefing today. This is a joint briefing by the Department of Basic Education together with the Department of Employment and Labor, represented by the Minister, Ms. Siviwe Gwahube, and the Deputy Minister, Mr. BEEI, for the respective departments. We are also joined by the ADG in the Department of Basic Education, as well as the Acting Commissioner for the UIF. Colleagues, I would like to invite the Minister of Basic Education to please give an address to the nation. Thank you.
A very good morning, everybody. Am I audible? Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, members of the media, and to the many South Africans who are following these proceedings, especially the thousands of young people serving our schools through the Basic Education Employment Initiative. Over the past week, the Department of Basic Education has been confronted with deeply concerning situation: the delay in paying stipends to education assistants for the month of September, which was due on the last day of the month. I would like to begin by firstly acknowledging the hardship this delay has caused to our education assistants. Many of these young people depend on their stipends to support themselves and their families, and when payments are delayed, it affects people's ability to meet their most basic needs: food, transport, accommodation. Effectively, it affects their dignity. Following intensive engagements that continued late into the night over the past 2 days, the Department of Basic Education, together with our partners, the Department of Employment and Labor, the Unemployment Insurance Fund, and the Industrial Development Corporation, have reached a final resolution. I can confirm that as of 10 a.m. this morning, payments have started flowing from the Industrial Development Corporation to our education assistants. This is a massive relief to thousands of young people who have been waiting for what is due to them. This delay should have never happened, and we will work tirelessly to ensure that it is avoided in the future. I know many have questioned about how we found ourselves in this situation, so I would like to take the public into my confidence for a moment. The Basic Education Employment Initiative is a partnership between the Basic Education Department, which is responsible for the oversight of provincial education departments, public schools participating in the BEEI, the Department of Employment and Labor through the Unemployment Insurance Fund, which is one of the funders of the BEEI, the Presidency, which is the strategic lead for the employment initiative, and the Industrial Development Corporation, which serves as an implementing agent responsible for disbursing stipends to education assistants. This partnership is governed by a multi-party arrangement designed to ensure accountability, transparency, and compliance with the Public Finance Management Act. However, in the most recent payment cycle, administrative delays occurred during the uploading and the verification of attendance registers of education assistants. This verification is a mandatory step to ensure that government funds are not paid to ghost workers or even people who are no longer showing up for work to provide the services that they are paid for. We all know too well that well-meaning projects are often infiltrated and compromised by corrupt elements which wish to fleece the state. To avoid any form of corruption, the necessary measures are put in place to ensure that every single rand is disbursed through the BEEI can be accounted for. Schools and provincial education departments were required to upload attendance registers coupled with biometric confirmations as proof that the assistants concerned were indeed present and carrying out their duties. After internal investigation, I was informed that the captured attendance registers were not uploaded in full by the relevant deadline, and this led to the funder, namely the UIF, being unable to approve the release of the stipend funds. When the system fails, contingency plans were not activated by responsible departmental officials. We acted swiftly. It's important to point out that this affected the education assistants who were paid only by the IDC, and those education assistants who are paid by the National Treasury received their stipends on time. And while the DBE is not the sole actor in this process, I must acknowledge with deep regret the hardship this administrative failure has caused. And as government, we've moved with urgency to resolve the matter. While I'm relieved that the immediate crisis has been resolved, I cannot and will not treat this as routine administrative matter. I've instructed both the Director General and the Acting Director General to immediately institute the appropriate consequence management and hold people accountable who have failed to discharge their responsibilities in the management and the implementation of the BEEI. This is not about scapegoating. It's about ensuring accountability and ensuring that as trusted public representatives, we understand the weight of that trust. At the same time, it's also about strengthening capacity within departments and within the Department of Education Employment Initiative. The department, together with our partners, we are reviewing the program's internal governance to ensure that the program is adequately resourced, properly supervised, and supported by reliable systems. Going forward, the BEEI program will be a standing item in all our high-level meetings to ensure that there's timeless reminder that is sent to all schools to remind them to upload their attendance registers on time. Furthermore, the steering committee of the BEEI, which comprises of Labour, UIF, the IDC, the DBE, and the Presidency, will meet on a regular basis to assess compliance, and furthermore, schools who do not comply will face serious consequences. The initiative is one of government's flagship youth employment programs. It provides not only income, but also work experience, training, and a pathway into a world of work for over 150,000 young South Africans. We owe it to these young people and to the schools and learners who depend on their contribution to manage this program with diligence, with excellence, with integrity, and with compassion. We dare not fail again. I want to assure every education assistant, you will receive what is due to you. We will not allow the situation to happen again, and we will build stronger systems to make sure that payments are reliable, are timely, and are transparent. I also wish to thank our partners, the Department of Employment and Labour, in particular, the Deputy Minister, Sibia, who has really walked this journey with us over the past 5 days as we've tried to resolve the crisis. Also would like to thank the UIF and the IDC for their cooperation in resolving the matter. In closing, I would also like to thank all our education assistants for their patience and professionalism during this challenging time. Your dedication in our schools continues to make a difference in the lives of learners across South Africa. The lesson from this experience is clear. We must be faster, we must be better, we must be better coordinated, and we must be much more vigilant. And as Minister, I'm committed to ensuring that my department meets that standard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Colleagues, just to confirm again that the matter has now been resolved. Payments have started flowing to the education assistants as of 10 a.m. this morning. They should start receiving their payments throughout the course of the day, and the others that have interbank clearances should clear by tomorrow. Colleagues, I'd like to invite the Deputy Minister for Dell to address us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lou. Good morning, Minister, the members of the media who are here, esteemed colleagues, and the people of South Africa. But importantly, the young men and women who are teacher assistants who are part of this noble program. Today, we gather to bring reassurance closure, and renewed confidence to thousands of young men and women of South Africa who are part of the Basic Education Initiative, which is a BEEI. This program stands as one of the most powerful demonstrations of our government's resolve to confront unemployment and create pathways for young people to participate meaningfully in nation building. We meet here not only as government departments, but as partners, the Department of Employment and Labor, the Department of Basic Education, the Unemployment Insurance Fund, and the Industrial Development Corporation, united by a single purpose to deliver justice, accountability, and relief to the hardworking young men and women who serve daily as education assistants and general schools assistants in our schools. Colleagues, the recent delay in stipend payments under the BEEI Phase 5 program has tested our systems and our collective resolve. We want to state unequivocally that the delay was never a reflection of neglect, but a consequence of compliance processes required under the Public Finance Management Act. We must always uphold integrity when managing public funds. But we also acknowledge that the delays in verification caused undue hardships for thousands of young people, and for that, government unreservedly apologizes. We want to apologize to everyone who has been affected, who's part of this program, unreservedly. Following intensive engagements that continued late into the night, government has now resolved the payment impasse, as the minister has said. As this morning, I also want to confirm that the UIF has released the funds for stipends payments, and I can confirm that education assistants and general schools assistants began receiving the payments from 10 o'clock today. Beneficiaries banking with Capitec and FNB are receiving funds today, while others banking with different institutions will receive their funds in line with standard interbank clearance times. This is the outcome of decisive coordinated government action balancing compliance with compassion and ensuring that our young people are not left in uncertainty any longer. The BEEI is not the responsibility of a single department. It is a partnership that works because of shared accountability, which is very important. The UIF, under the Department of Employment and Labor, provides the financial backbone of the program. The IDC, as the implementing partner, ensures that payments are processed efficiently and transparently. The Department of Basic Education, led by Minister Siviwe Kwahube, oversees the implementation in schools, ensuring that proper attendance, tracking and coordinating with provinces. This collaboration demonstrates the strength of the South African state when institutions work together in unity and in service of the people of this country. As the Deputy Minister, I want to confirm that and assure the public that we have tightened our internal processes within UIF, not to slow delivery, but to safeguard the integrity of every rand of public money. This is what good governance is about, and it's how it looks like. It must be responsive, responsible, and people-centered. The resolution of this matter does not mean the issue is closed. It means the work of accountability begins. As agreed by the ministers, the BEEI project will now be a standing item in senior management and interdepartmental review meetings from provincial to national levels. Furthermore, the Minister of Basic Education has confirmed that consequence management will follow when negligence or failure to act timelessly is identified. This is a clear signal that accountability will not be optional. Every official must understand that good governance is not only about compliance, it is about care, agency, and service delivery that impacts lives. Everything that we do, we believe that it must be impactful. The Basic Education Employment Initiative has created 158,000 employment opportunities for young South Africans. These are young people who wake up early every day, report to schools, and perform essential functions that keep the education system moving. They are not beneficiaries, they are contributors to our social progress. Through this initiative, young people have gained work experience, developed discipline, and reconnected with their communities. That is why this program is not just an administrative contract, it is a political commitment to inclusion and empowerment. As the Department of Employment and Labor, we are proud that the UIF continues to support this initiative financially, providing the public institutions can be both fiscally responsible and socially impactful. Going forward, government is determined to strengthen collaboration between the Department of Basic Education and the Department of Employment and Labor. One, to ensure timely payments in future cycles that are coming. Two, to integrate digital compliance tool to faster verification. And three, maintain transparent public communication about program progress. This interdepartmental unity is a model we want to replicate across other youth employment and skills development programs nationwide as the department, because the truth is simple. Our people do not want excuses. They want delivery and nothing else. And that is exactly what we are doing today. Fellow South Africans, the events of the past weeks have reminded us that leadership is not about avoiding challenges, but it is about confronting them with honesty, collaboration, and compassion. Under the leadership of Minister Makosazana Meth and Minister Sivio Kwahube, our departments have worked tirelessly around the clock to protect the credibility of this program and to deliver relief to the youth who depend on it. This is a noble program. It is a noble cause. To the 158,000 education assistants and general schools assistants, we want to thank you for your patience, your resilience, and your service. Your government has heard you, and today we have acted. Let us move forward from this moment with renewed trust, greater efficiency, and unshakable commitment to make sure every government program is a model of excellence. We are the government that is very much aware of the importance of taking care of its young people. We want to make sure that our young people of this country do inherit a better country than the country that was inherited by us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Colleagues, just to recap, the payments to the education assistants started flowing today at 10 a.m. Those that are banking with Capitec as well as FNB should receive their monies today during the course of the day. Those that are banking with other banks will be subject to interbank clearance timeframes and therefore should start receiving their monies by tomorrow. Colleagues, government is committed to the BEEI program. This is one of the programs, as the Deputy Minister has reflected, that are flagship programs for this government. This program is not only an employment initiative, but it is also an employability initiative to give young people experience so that they can go out into the world of work. Colleagues, at this moment, I would like to open for questions. Questions from the online platform will come through Vanessa at the back. If I do have questions from the floor here, we'll take those now. In a show of hands, colleagues, if you have any questions you'd like to pose, please put your hand up. I've got number one there. Do I have any other questions? Okay, please go ahead, sir.
All right, good morning. My name is Mulu from BEEI. I just want to understand, up to so far, who has been suspended now that you have identified what the problem is? Secondly, it's interesting that you are talking of having to comply with the Public Finance Management Act and all of that on a matter that affects the livelihood of individuals that you know they have no other source of income. When we know that your department, one way or the other, there are some form of irregular expenditure that are incurred. But when it comes to these ones, you are very meticulous because seated there, none of you, I can tell, have never missed their salary. How do you reconcile with that reality that people who are so vulnerable and desperate are made to go through this? But lastly, maybe to the Minister, you took to social media, X in particular, and there was a back and forth between yourself and the Premier of blaming one another. You even, it appeared, at least that's what I picked up, you appeared to be suggesting that your department really is not at fault at all. I stand to be corrected, but that is the tone that I picked up. It's as if you were pointing the finger of blame to someone else. Can you just clarify there as to exactly where was the lapse between the departments that are involved?
No. Thank you, sir. 3 questions there. Minister, if you can take the first question with regards to consequence management, and the last question with regards to the interaction with Premier Lesufi, and then DM, if you can take the question on compliance with PFMA prescripts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first question around who has been suspended. The reality is that we've had to understand where the issue has gone wrong. And as I indicated in my remarks, is that we have to make sure that we understand the weight of the responsibility, and we have to understand where there's been neglect. We have to then take action. And that's why I've committed to doing that. And I've said to the Director General, he needs to make sure that we understand who is responsible, where there has been a lapse in the system. But more importantly, I think this is less about consequence management is also seriously linked to how improved behavior. How do we strengthen our own systems? Where have things gone wrong, and how do we prevent this from happening again? So I'm confident that the steps that I've taken around consequence management are sufficient, and that we will make sure that this does not happen again, especially with our systems. I do want to, I know that DM is going to answer on the PFMA compliance. I do want to really kind of attempt to respond to this. I think, Moloto, it's quite important that we don't start to want to say that simply because there has been irregular expenditure in your departments before, you should continue to do so. We should seek to be intolerant of irregular expenditure in all our departments, regardless of whatever form. And even in a program like this, we should make sure that there's full compliance with the law, and that we balance both the compassion and also compliance. We can't defend any kind of illegality for whatever reason. But that is why we've moved with urgency and literally around the clock over the past 5 days to make sure that this matter is resolved. You asked the question around my interaction with Premier Panyaza. That tweet was very clear. I mean, I hear you saying you got the feeling, but the tweet was very clear. Premier Lesufi was blatantly saying that the Department of Basic Education is responsible for the payment of stipends to education assistants. As we've been at pains to explain today, that this is an involved process that involves 5 stakeholders. And the disbursement of funds of these payments are not the responsibility of the Department of Basic Education. To then indicate on a public platform that we are not paying people when we are not the ones who are responsible for the payments is incorrect. And it seeks to mislead the public, which is what I wanted to correct, to say this is not the truth. This program is as involved as we have indicated here with the DM. It involves DEL, it involves the UIF, it involves the IDC. We're a beneficiary of this program. But where there has been issues around compliance, where we haven't provided documents in terms of compliance, we must fix those systems. But at the same time, government leaders mustn't seek to mislead the public. Let's be solutions orientated. The Premier has my number. He could have picked up the phone and called me. And so I think as government leaders, we ought to be responsible enough to know that this is something that has been a painful chapter for many of our education assistants. And that's why for me today, what's important is that we're here to report to the nation that we've resolved the matter, that people will be receiving their money. More importantly, we are saying to you, we will tighten our systems so that this does not happen again. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. I think you've responded to this question, but I'll just maybe add something from what the Minister has said. I think we all have a responsibility seated here and the people of this country out there to make sure that accountability does take place in our government system. One thing that I think all of us won't want to see is to have a country that is just doing wrong things because something wrong has been happening. To say we incur irregular expenditures, so we might as well just continue. It must just be free lunch, and we might just do and ignore all the Public Finance Management Act, what it says. Then it's a problem. That act is there because it must be observed and it guides us on what to do as government. If we ignore what the law says, because an act is a law, then we are going to become a country that is going down the slope. And I don't think all of us would want to say that with confidence and say, why do you do this when it comes to the issue of paying the stipends for the young people who are part of this noble program? You might as well just do what has been happening in other spaces within departments where we incur irregular expenditure. Let me say this. There is no minister or there is no deputy minister or any official who would want to incur irregular expenditure. It happens at times, but it's not desirable. It's not what we want to see. And we are working tirelessly hard to make sure that all the acts that we have in the Republic of South Africa, it doesn't matter which act is it, which law is it. It must be observed. We must do things by the book. We must do things by the law. That's what we're doing. But yes, at the back of our mind, we couldn't remove that. We need to be compassionate. We need to be kind, and we need to understand that these young people deserve to be paid on time. That's why we moved with speed with the minister. We haven't been sleeping. We've been working tirelessly. We've been meeting at night. We've been doing quite a lot. But everything that we wanted to do was to move with speed, but also observe the law and make sure that we do things by the law. Because when we do it outside the law, the same people will come back to us and say, look at yourselves. You have done wrong. You couldn't pay stipend on time, and then you continue after that. You are doing wrong things by not observing the Public Finance Management Act. And that's what we did with the minister and both departments and UIF, is to make sure that we stick by the law, but also we move faster and be compassionate in making sure that young people do get the stipend on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DM. I see we have a follow-up question. Vanessa, do you have any questions online? Yes. Okay, can we start with those questions then and come with the follow-up?
We have two questions from Arthur Pose from Hardagan, Cape Town. Can you give us a timeline to conclude the investigation and which department will be conducting the investigation? Prince from Netwerk 24, my question is to the Minister. The Deputy Minister of Basic Education told Parliament yesterday that the Department of Education in KwaZulu-Natal had basically collapsed due to serious financial constraints. She said all the other provinces are also facing serious financial challenges. How will the Minister and government remedy this? How will these financial constraints affect teachers' posts in provinces for the 2026 academic year? Mflenza from Izolezwe in KZN. I want to ask how many assistants are impacted in KZN and how much is their stipend per month? This is the last question. Mbaleng Tetwa for SABC News. The Teddy Bear Foundation has filed papers in the courts to force the department to use the National Predator Registry to vet teachers at schools. Has the department received the court papers yet? And will the department be challenging this application? That's all we have for now.
Thank you very much. The first question is related to how long the investigation will be and which department will undertake that. Minister, you can handle that one. The second question from Llewellyn, I will call him. to answer that question that's related to the financial standing of provinces. It's not related to this briefing here today. Balentle as well, she's already sent that question to us. I'll respond. We've responded to that, but I think I might need to give her more information. And then the last question that is coming from, ENCA.
Indeed. I think I must not be conveniently misinterpreted here. No one has ever said you must go and break the law. And because I'm getting a sense that people are saying things that I didn't say just to cover incompetence here. My question was speaking to your moral conscience, to say you are very quick to quote the law, when in other areas we know the very same law you are quoting is being broken. That was the gist of my point. I'm not saying, I don't even have the power to tell any one of you or anyone in government to go and break the law. Who am I? I'm an outsider. But I just want to understand, because you are saying you're going to ensure this is never going to happen again. You're going to tighten the measures. Is this an acknowledgement that, maybe let me start here, this youngsters, was it for the first time this month of September you were paying them? Or have you been paying them in previous months? What was the process? Were you subjecting that payment to this very process that you now deployed? Or can you say that you were paying and you were not verifying? I just want to understand what happened this time around. That is, if you were paying them in previous months. But lastly, is this an admission when you say you're going to beef up your measures? Is it an admission that somebody did not put those measures that ought to have been there in the first place? Is that an admission that somebody was sleeping in their job? Could be an operational person, but those who are monitoring the entire system up to your level as executing authorities. Is that an admission that you failed to do what you had to do? Had you done that, we would not be here.
Thank you, ENCA. Those are 3 follow-up questions from ENCA. There was the last question with regards to how much the payment is and how many are affected. If it sounds like a technical nature, if the technical support would want to answer that as well, we'll get the opportunity. Minister.
Thank you very much for the questions. We shall respond on the teddy bear case and the financial standing of provinces separately, as Lukhanyo has indicated. The timeline for the investigation, as I've indicated, that this is an internal investigation that I have personally asked the Director General to look into. Where in our systems have things gone wrong? And if so, if things have gone wrong, what do we need to do about it? And so that for me is what I have undertaken to do as the Minister in the Department of Basic Education. The question around the tightening of processes. Well, look, the reality is that in a multi-party signed agreement where there's 4 or 5 interested parties, and there is a very complicated governance structure that governs this kind of program, that also requires the disbursements of over 150,000 payments by an implementing agent. Of course, when systems are set in place, when contracts are signed, these may be signed and theoretically they may work well. But with time, you can realize that there could be administrative delays that could lead to people not getting paid. And so it's absolutely imperative that if you're in government, that you have to tighten your processes from time to time to make sure that they are efficient, to make sure that it doesn't affect the bottom line of the recipients of these stipends. And the issue around the moral conscience, I started off in this briefing by stating very, very, heartfelt that we understand the absolute devastation that these young people have faced by having this delay in their payments. And this is why we have not rested in the last 5 days to make sure that this is resolved. As I indicated, it's about balancing both compliance with the law, but also compassion. And there are things we've had to say to each other that, yes, we will in the future tighten our processes, but we have to get this payment done. And this is why for us, it's an immediate relief to be able to say to young people, you will receive the money that is due to you. And as you will receive the money that is due to you, we ourselves will make sure that between the 4 or 5 entities that are part of this agreement, we will make sure that we're tightening how information flows, what compliance is required by when. These things are important. And remember, this is not just the work of one department. There are 5 different interested parties, some who are the funders, some who are the beneficiaries, including DBE. So it's absolutely important to tighten your systems, to look at how you can be more efficient in doing your business. The issue around KwaZulu-Natal, I'll allow the acting DG to respond to the numbers of KwaZulu-Natal and the stipend. Thank you.
Thank you very much once again. I think when it comes to the issue of strengthening, the minister spoke about it, whether we are admitting that there are some weaknesses within our systems. In every situation where there are systems involved, systems get to be improved all the time, but also as the time goes, we'll forever identify gaps, and where there are gaps, you must strengthen your systems, you must improve your systems. It's not because you say you are admitting that there are some challenges that you have or there are some weaknesses. But yes, this time around, we have identified that there are gaps, and we must close those gaps. And we can't hide that. We have to say it, that yes, there are gaps that we have identified. We need to improve, we need to do better. We need to close those gaps, like in any system. Around the world, currently, old systems where you'll find that a country has been a democratic country for the past 300 years, but it still improves its systems. There will always be gaps, there will always be issues. And we want to say we are very, very much confident and want to say it upfront and openly that we want to close gaps. We've identified gaps, we are closing those gaps. The current, this is not the first payment. We have done some payments before. We started in June. In June, it was the first payment. That was the first initial payment where, as the Department of Employment and Labor through UIF, we transferred the first tranche to the IDC to disperse to all the teacher assistants. So that was the first payment. And then this one is a subsequent one, the subsequent payment, which needs verification now. That's the one that we are talking about. We had to verify what we paid for in the first tranche. And then that's why we had this slow movement, and there were some gaps that we identified that we are saying we are closing and we are strengthening. Even the system that is being used, Quantum system, is being improved. And we are digitizing. The department is digitizing its own processes. So that's where we've identified gaps and we are closing. But this was not the first payment. We have done the 3 payments, and this one needed us to verify the entire process and the entire, we had to track and trace. We had to see who are we paying, who has been paid, and we don't have deceased people amongst the people that were paying, because it happened that in June, you will have a person who was employed, and then in July, that person is deceased, and you can't continue paying that person in August and September. So it's part of accounting for what the public money is about. I think, I know the teacher assistants are paid. The technical team will deal with that. Let me just save myself from that and allow them to do what they need to do.
Thank you very much. Just a quick response. We have just over 34,000 EAs in KZN, and the stipend amount is 4,000 a month.
Thank you, Acting DG. Colleagues, we will close this briefing. Should you have any one-on-one requests, we will provide and facilitate those for you. Thank you very much, colleagues. Muloto, let me hand you for one-on-one.
Thank you. It's important. No, not one-on-one here. It's important that we ventilate these things, and I'm happy that you are now providing clarity. That during the June period, you made a payment. And this time around, it was even more important for you to verify that you don't pay ghost people. Let's go back. Can you say with absolute certainty that in June, the money that you paid, you can certainly say that it did not go to wrong people? Does it mean that the verification you are doing now was not done in June? But importantly, because I believe it's a very reason you are advancing, that you don't want taxpayers' money to go to people who don't exist. Did you, seeing that you were aware that you're going to embark in this verification process of the system, did you go to those teacher assistants to say, expect that there might be delays because of this and this and that? Your salaries, you may not receive them on time. Were they told that, or they were just surprised when they did not get their money?
Thank you very much, Muloto. Do we have any other questions so that he doesn't abuse the platform? Vanessa?
More question from Arthur Pose at Hard FM. He wants to know how many teacher assistants were affected overall.
How many teacher assistants were affected overall, DG? Those both sounded like technical questions, if I can give it to you.
So the number of young people affected is 155,000, and obviously they spread across the country. We use two sources of funding to pay them, and that's why the nature of verification changed during the course of the program. So initially it was easier to pay because we used established systems within the provinces and within schools to pay young people from the first tranche. In the second tranche, what then becomes important is the verification based on the provision of registers. And so there you have to rely on the ability of schools to then provide you with those registers. You obviously have to get them through the system, so you get them through districts and provinces. And then based on the verification, and to also bear in mind that you have large numbers of these registers then coming through. Hundreds of thousands of pages then, that we then have to verify, and that's where the delay happened. Again, I want to emphasize, I think, the point that both the minister and the deputy ministers, are making, which is that we apologize to these young people. It's an administrative error that has occurred, that we take responsibility for, and that we will ensure that it does not happen again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. We are adjourned.